Hi there, welcome to Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football in the English language. I'm Michael Statham, and today I'm joined by EuroExpert to preview Feyenoord against Marseille. Feyenoord are the last Dutch club standing in Europe now, and what a tie they've got ahead of them. A tough one too against the French Giants. EuroExpert, or Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, any Feyenoord fans watching, please call me Alex. You don't need to call me Big EuroExpert or anything, but yeah. I'm here to preview the Marseille side of this tie. I think Marseille are probably the favourites here, but that's not putting Feyenoord out of this, as we'll discuss both the strengths and the weaknesses of what you're going to face this week.
I think Marseille are generally the toughest side. Like that is for sure. They are the third place in the Eredivisie. We've got second place in Liga, and Feyenoord, whilst they've improved a lot under Arne Slot this season, they are in contention to win the league, and that may well happen next season, depending what Slot can do with Feyenoord over this summer. But for me, I've always held that I think Feyenoord got a bit more about them than PSV, who are in second place. PSV were knocked out by Leicester over those two legs. I think this is going to be a high-scoring tie. I just want to bring in what I said about Leicester PSV. I previewed that game and said there'd be goals galore, and well, there was one goal for like the majority of the two legs, and then Leicester got two late goals. So I better temper my expectations. But I think Feyenoord come into this sort of 40-60, I'd say, with the kind of chances. How is it from the Marseille side? I can't believe they're second in Liga. They're nowhere near PSG, are they? But are they comfortably the second best side in Liga?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd say they're more close to PSG than they are. Well, they're close to the rest of the teams in Ligue 1, but the PSG haven't been farther and away ahead. In fact, I think most people would say they've preferred watching teams like Marseille and Rennes than PSG this season. Because Marseille, they started this season, by the way, in like crazy fashion. Crazy on the pitch in a good way. They were playing, Michael, a 3-2-4-1 formation. I know formations can be like, they change in and out the game or whatever, but it was solidly like a 4-2-3-1 upside down. 3 defenders and then like 4 central midfielders, everyone just pushing up. It was high pressing, it was great. And then since the first 10 games where they were conceding a few goals, they've got a little bit more boring, which is sad to see, just a bit more safe. And that's what's seen them get into second place. So while you say it's goals galore, that could happen because there's a lot of talent on this pitch. But I think Marseille might try to aim to make this game a little boring from a Feyenoord perspective and lock down the defence.
Well, that would not encourage Feyenoord supporters, because that is the one thing they've really struggled with this season. It is deep line defences, especially teams that play a 5-man defence. And whilst you didn't say that it was 5, it sounds a lot like 3 sitting centre-backs, perhaps, with wing-backs. And that is what they struggle with. Though I would say that Marseille are a different kind of creature. I don't think they'll be quite as low defensive block as the likes of NEC, Nijmegen and AKC Waalwijk. But if Feyenoord can't take them apart and beat them, then what chance do they have against Marseille?
Well, that is a good point. And it's a good point to give Feyenoord fans a bit of hope, because it's not simply like a Conte fight at the back. I mean, they do technically have wing backs, but generally those wing backs are like Luis Enrique, who's this Brazilian attacking winger, or Cengiz Under or Gerson. These attacking players who will be tasked to try and get back, but it's much more like a normal winger's job, right? Where they're attacking and then when everyone's defending, they'll get back too. Really, the defense is kind of trusted to sort of protect itself a bit. And I mean, if we're going to highlight the defense, I'll say the one man I should be worried about, and it's a name everyone's beginning to know a lot more now, William Saliba, the Arsenal loanee. He's genuinely been tremendous this year. Like maybe one of the best defenders in France. Is so tall and strong, but really good on the ball. And the interesting thing about this Marseille system, I mean, Feyenoord haven't watched too much, but if they're looking to press Marseille, they might have a bit of an issue, because Sampaoli, the manager we haven't spoken about yet, he's the guy behind all the craziness. He's basically challenged these defenders to be as psycho as possible. So Saliba, genuinely in the first few games of the year, was playing as like a centre-back, stroke right back, stroke right winger. There are some points where he was like that high up the pitch, because they're like centre-backs almost like on FIFA, where you've got, when you're 10 years deep in career mode, I don't know what else to do. You have one centre-back and then 2 others who are pushing up like fullbacks. And like I said, it's calmed down a bit, but they're all comfortable on the ball is what I'm trying to say. So
Well,
really talented back line.
You mentioned like another thing there. Feyenoord love to press high. Oh. It's what Arne Slot has done with Arsene Alkmaar now with Feyenoord. Is he has players that can do it really well. So Brian Linson, who's not played too much lately, was a striker that was doing lots of that. Hustil, the number 10, he has again been out of the team. He should be fit for this one on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And he does that as well. Lots of pressing. How do you think they'll handle the kind of? They like to put a few crosses into the box, but they don't have loads of height. If they play Brian Linson, he's very small, but he's very good at headers. But Cyril Dessers is the striker who's been given the run in at the moment. The Nigerian's really good at through balls through to him, poach in the box. But the main threat really for Feyenoord is the width, particularly on their left-hand side. Luis Sinisterra, the Colombian winger, put out some great stats this season. He's really stepped up in the Eredivisie. You've got Reece Nelson as well on the right, who still hasn't worked enough on his end product. He's improved a little bit. He has been injured, to be fair to him, but he's just showing pace and not a lot else at the moment. How do you think they'll handle those kind of threats, especially Sinisterra, because he's a very tricky winger?
Sinisterra, then, I think, with him on that side, what Sampaoli might do is something he's done before. He's put the midfielder, Rongier, he's generally playing central midfield, more on the right-hand side, closer to right back. And he's basically like a ball winging midfielder. So he might park him there just to take care of that side. Because that is something I think, as much as Saliba has been bigged up here, and the other centre-backs as well, who will likely play, Chaleta Sarr, maybe Luan Perez, they're all quite proper centre-backs. So if you park a really electric winger, something that I can't think of like a truly electric one they faced in Ligue 1. I guess Neymar is one, but PSG always sit quite high. I can't think of a counter-attacking one that they've had to deal with in a sense. So maybe it might be a bit of a challenge, and Sampaoli might try and cover for that, which might limit their attack a bit as well.
I want you to tell me a bit more about the attack. I've got a feeling this could be high scoring just by looking at some of Feyenoord's results. They've won the last 3 in the league. They ran Ajax really close lately. They were 2-1 up in Amsterdam, but because of the amount of games they've been playing, they played on Thursday in Europe. They lost 3-2. But against Partizan Belgrade in the last 16, 8-3 on aggregate. Against Slavia Prague in the last round, 6-4 on aggregate. In the group stages, 5 games out of 6 all involve both teams scoring. So they only kept 1 clean sheet in the competition the whole of this season so far. Unless you count the qualifiers, and I can't remember the qualifiers apart from one of them. They may have got a couple of clean sheets in the qualifiers, but in the competition proper, not great defensively. Add into the mix that Justin Bilo, their main goalkeeper and one of their best players of the team, is injured. They have been relying upon Ofir Marciano, who was the Hibernian goalkeeper last season. He's a reserve goalkeeper, and he's rubbish. He's not solid enough. I think Feyenoord fans won't mind me saying that. He's got lots of mistakes in him. That's probably how you're going to get at Feyenoord, is testing the goalkeeper. But tell us about Marseille's attacking threats.
Well, they haven't really got a properly consistent goal scorer. In the league, Payet is top, and he's got about 11 goals. They've just got a wide range of goal scorers. And if you look at the table, they've scored 55 goals. But I think with that, that feels a little low compared to PSG, who've got 76, Rennes, who've got 75. I think midway through the season, they had quite a bit of a dry spell. But if you've seen them recently, I think they've got 8 goals in the last 6. And did you see the Payet goal against Pauk in the quarterfinal by any chance? Yes. With that sort of quality, they can score from anywhere. I mean, Payet deserves his own section, really. But so names to shout out: other Arsenal loanee, Guendouzi, been brilliant, been like an attacking midfielder. I think he's in
some Arsenal fans going to be watching this, I feel.
They've been really, the loanies have been great. I know Guendouzi's not going back there, but I think he's got 3 goals and 6 assists in the league. He's like one of the top players for progressive carries and things like that. They're really tidy in the final third, and a few other misfit players from the past, like Cengiz Under, the guy who was at Roma and then Leicester on loan, which didn't do too well. He's had a good season as well, died down a bit recently, but quite a big threat off the right. And the final one we should touch on as well is Arkadiusz Milik. He's been a bit of an odd situation, former Napoli striker. He's got
Final fans will know him from his time at Ajax.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know he was at Ajax. Well, you might find it interesting that Sampaoli's system kind of has been around sort of small, diminutive forwards. And at the start of the season, Milik was injured. Obviously, he's a bit more of a bulky, classic striker.
Yeah.
So he was really a sub-appearance guy, and it wasn't really fitted into the team to the point where I think it was around February, there were a lot of headlines in French media of him just being done, the squad kind of being split on what's happening. Some saying, like, some camps being like, Sampaoli, you just need to get this system right and keep changing it, get Milik in, etc., etc. And recently he has played a bit more, but it'd be unsure if he starts in this game. Like the thing is, he generally does score when he plays and when he starts, but often it can kind of like blunt the whole team a bit. I guess they're not completely used to playing him because sometimes they'll play Payet as a false nine. So it's like it does sort of change things about, but he's an interesting option to have off the bench at least.
Do you think they might go with a false nine in the away leg, and maybe at home if they need to force the issue, go with a couple of extra forwards?
I think Payet will be the one to start definitely as a sort of false nine, and then they'll mix it in and around from there. They'll try and go with what they know and what sort of works, especially in the first leg. So I don't think, like I said, Sampaoli's definitely grown a bit more cautious over the season, and Marseille are really in a big position. We'll probably touch on it a bit, but obviously these are both historic European teams, and Marseille haven't been this far in European competition for a while. So I think there's a lot of pressure riding on this, on what's been a great season. And Sampaoli's probably thinking, I'm going to play it safe, at least in the first leg, before I sort of jazz it up if I need to.
I definitely want to touch upon a couple of the other final players before we finish this, but you mentioned their history, that Feyenoord last won the European competition only in 2001. It's not often a team wins a European competition, and that was the UEFA Cup. They want to just test themselves against the biggest sides in Europe. That's kind of what this is. You've got Leicester, Roma in the other semi-final. Do you think that it will be a Marseille, Roma, Leicester final? And how much would it mean for Marseille to win this competition as well? Is it important now, or is the league more important even now still? How do fans kind of view the competition is what I mean. Because some people have, of course, belittled the Conference League, and now it's getting semi-finals. Everyone's like, oh no, we'd love to win this competition. Feyenoord, the whole way through, have been saying that they'd like to win this competition, go far in it. And fair enough, I actually thought that they'll get the first out of the Dutch clubs this season. They have. And also, I think they're actually an outside bet to win this competition. I really wish I put my bet on them out at the beginning, because they're doing very well. And I just think that they're really going to go for this. Into Kaup, they're excellent. And this home leg, therefore, is very important.
Yeah, I with the Conference League as well, like, I was one of the people saying it was boring, but that, in my defense, that was when Tottenham were playing Pacos de Ferreira, and I was like, what is this? Like, and when Conte came in, I assumed he just looked at it and didn't think it was a real thing. But I found it really exciting, like a sort of semi-finals matchup of, like you said, Roma, Leicester, Feyenoord, Marseille. It's great. And I think in France, I reckon now the league especially is done for Marseille. They're 4 points clear of Rennes. They're probably going to get Champions League football. I think there's going to be a lot riding on this trophy, because I don't think they've won a Coupe de France or anything for quite a bit. They've not won the league, I think, since 2010, I believe. And this is generally, before PSG came along, the most successful team in France. I think people growing up sort of in our age group, like 20s to 30s, will think Lyon's that, because they went on that massive title winning spree. For Marseille, generally, I believe, might piss off some fans in France, seen as the biggest club in France, even alongside PSG. When Marseille play PSG, it's a really big rivalry. It's great. And I think the fans will be looking to try and win something this season, as it can just kind of be something to get them on side. And also in France, I think they'll be happy to I think they'll want to win this as well, to try and dispel those sort of Farmers League notions they'll get on social media, which clearly does bother them, by the way, because you see a lot of their players tweeting about it whenever they win in Europe. Like Mbappe, I think it was Mbappe last season, right? Beat Barcelona, tweet Farmers League. So you can see they're quite proud of their league, and I think they'd be very happy to try and win this.
I'm sure it would. It's a French people. I can imagine they see it as like, yes, having to prove themselves and how big their league is. It's a very good league, and the Dutch league is trying to chase that down at the moment. Of course, they don't have like a PSG at the top of that, but in the coefficient, they're 7th and could well be 6th next season. Portuguese fans, as another example of this, they're not happy that the Eredivisie has milked the Conference League this season for the coefficient points. They're not happy about it one jot. But, you know, all we need to do is just get a few teams knocked out of the Europa League next season, and then Portuguese teams will have their own coefficient points and sort themselves out.
I think the thing is with the Eredivisie as well is like, maybe we'll see something here, what we saw with Bayern. You know, when Bayern got lost to Villarreal, you saw a lot of Bayern fans and German fans saying, this is what's happened to this is what the Bundesliga has done. Their quality of the opposition is so low, they're just not ready for it. So I think Feyenoord, it's be a big test for them in terms of, they're playing very, very good team. They'll definitely be like the top 20 in Europe, I'd say at least. And
wow, that's very kind.
Well, it sounds very kind, but in fairness, you know, you add up Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, you know, you're past 5 already. I think it's all right. But yeah, the point I was going with is if I, from a mild Eredivisie fan, try and watch it when I can, as we know, I'd say the quality of the lower teams is much lower than the likes of Feyenoord, Ajax, PSV. So if Feyenoord can turn up and put on a good show, I think not only is that good for them, but good for the whole of the Eredivisie.
Mm-hmm. Agree with you. Before we get your prediction, a few more players to talk about, certainly from a final view, are Orkun Koçu, who could well be into a big move this summer. Maybe, maybe not. He might want to stay and push for the title next year. I think Feyenoord could do that under Arne Slot. Arsnes, Frederick Arsnes, he'll probably play next to Koçu in midfield. Two quite deep midfielders, but Koçu's really good footballing midfielder. I think he's proved a lot of people wrong this season, Koçu, me included. I had some doubts about him. And wow, he's added so much to his game, and it's really good to see. In terms of defence, I know that Gernot Trauner has really been the best defender, I think, out of the back four this season for Feyenoord. Centre back is just a big, strong defender. You just need that sometimes to just get rid of everything. But next to him is Marcos Senesi, who hasn't been quite as impressive this season. So maybe that's something Marseille could try to exploit. Is picking on Senesi, a centre-back. And full-back-wise, they've had a couple of different full-backs at right-back. Maybe Geertruida will start. And a left-back, Tyrell Masia, who's in the Dutch national team squad, has been impressive on the whole this season. But I know in the last game against Slavia Prague, on the ball, he didn't have a clue. And that makes me a little worried ahead of this one, that in a big stakes game, that he just suddenly loses all of his ability on the football. Because he's a very good player, very good left-back, and one of the best young fullbacks in Europe.
I was going to say on the Marseille side, just quickly.
Go for it.
Just say the injuries. A couple of names that have recently been showing out as Cedric Bakambu, striker. He won't be playing, so Feyenoord fans could be happy about that because he came back and scored on his debut. And a name I throw out as well because he was on fire at the start of the season. Conrad De La Fuente, the American guy who came from Barcelona, who was like brilliant winger. If Feyenoord fans, some out there worrying about him, don't worry, he's out for the rest of the season. But I will say the whole team that you'd expect to start for Marseille, we won't go through it, has pretty much been benched as we're talking right now against Reims. Like they're even starting Steve Mandanda in goal. And I think that's definitely an example of how much they're prioritising this competition.
Wow. I don't think Feyenoord did that. They wanted to very much keep the rhythm against Utrecht. They won 2-1. It was a last-minute goal to win the game. Yeah. So again, concerning that against a low-block defence, they just were really struggling. Before we go then, predictions for not just the first leg, but let's have some fun. What do you think is going to happen with both the legs? It's easy to pick a team. What do you think the scores are going to be? For example, I think Feyenoord are going to do very well in the home leg. I think they have to make the most of it. But I think they'll just fall short, and I think it'll be a draw in the home leg, and then in the away leg, Marseille will put them away. I want to hear your scores first.
Okay. Well, I can't wear a Marseille shirt and sit here and say Feyenoord go for it. So where the Feyenoord fans come for me, I'm just saying that. I think this will actually be a really close tie. I think it's going to be quite fun. I back Marseille though to grind this one out rather than overwhelmingly impress. I'd say it's going to be 0-0 in the first leg in a Feyenoord, and then in the second leg in front of the Velodrome, which that's going to be epic. I reckon it'll be like a 1-0, 2-0 win to Marseille.
More goals than I thought there would be. I think both teams will score in the Kuip. I think Feyenoord will. The crowd is just incredible. They'll force the ball into the net from in the stands. I think it will be 1-1 in the home leg, and then away from home, perhaps 2-0 Marseille or 2-1. Something close, but I think Marseille will just have too much when it goes back to France. But I think if Feyenoord can take a lead in that home leg, if Marseille come up and pull out a stinker, Feyenoord win, say 3-1, then I'd have all confidence that they could go to France and maybe even get another goal and get the Marseilles over the line. But I'm gonna play it safe and say Marseille go through overall. But I'm sure some Dutch football fans watching were thinking, finally got an outside chance of this. The supporters are not expecting them to get through this. They see that Marseille are a slightly stronger side, and over 2 legs, that really does tell quite often. Because of that, I think Marseille just, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be quite entertaining. And who do you think will be in the final? Who do you think will win it?
Oh, who'll win the final? I said before we film, I think Marseille, as you touched on, the fans on both these sides are electric, but Marseille's fans, I don't know if they're like as overwhelming as finals are, but whenever you see it, my goodness, they're incredibly passionate. And I feel like they really want this and Marseille really want this. I think Roma and Leicester as well, big holes in both of their teams. I think if anything, these two teams, while might not be as high in quality, probably more secure. So I've actually got Marseille to go and win this whole thing. So if Feyenoord do lose to them, it's probably quite respectable.
Well, thank you, Alex, for doing this. You can, of course, follow him on Twitter. EuroExpert. You'll find him, I'm sure. If you enjoyed this, please do give it a like and subscribe to Football-Oranje if you're new. Or if you already are and you didn't know we had a website, go and check out the website. Go and check out our Twitter. Dutch football, always there for you. And there's lots coming up, not just in club football, but international football too. Keep an eye out for us in June. We'll be doing some things about the Netherlands. For now, bye from us and enjoy the tie. I think it's going to be a really good one.